This weekend, the Minecraft movie dropped in theaters. Video game adaptations don't always have the best reputation. For a very long time, almost all of them were terrible, but over the last several years, they've started to get quite a bit better. The question is, what is the best video game adaptation? Today, I'm going to be looking at Rotten Tomatoes' top rated video game adaptations. These are the top 13 video game movies based off their Rotten Tomatoes scores. So as we dive into this, the article as is from just a few months back when Sonic the Hedgehog 3 came out. It's actually them ranking all the video game adaptations, and there's enough of them in there that I haven't seen, you haven't seen, that covering the whole thing wouldn't make a ton of sense, but looking at the top 13, 14 gets very interesting. I will chime in where Minecraft would have cut in, or where it will cut in when they adjust this article, probably in the very near future once a few more reviews come in so that Minecraft's score settles a little bit. But as we go through this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say whether a movie is underrated or overrated. Are they placing it too high? Are they placing it too low? Chiming in, and then at the end of this video, I will just kind of run through my quick ranking of how I would rank these movies. In this list, there is in fact one that I haven't seen, and it's not based off a popular video game, and it wasn't a big hit movie at all. So there's one that I haven't seen. The rest of them I have seen multiple times. Kicking things off at number 13 on this list, kind of number 14 because Minecraft will cut in here, is the Angry Birds movie with 44% from the critics and 47% from audiences. I'll cut right to the chase on this one. I actually think that this one is properly rated. Remember, we are talking about the best video game movies of all time. There is over 50 of them, so this is we're talking about the best of video game adaptations. They have it at the bottom of the best. I will agree with that this is the weakest of the movies on this list, though still enjoyable. I enjoy all of these movies enough, even if it is a very superficial fun. Now, this movie's high energy. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but I think it very much often kind of leans into the most superficial of entertainment. A lot of the times it has these really fun music cues, but the music cues are kind of a replacement for an actual joke or character development. It's like, let's play a fun song. And so you're never bored by the movie, but I also don't think it makes all that much of an impact either. And if you stop and think about it, perhaps a little phone game about like slingshotting birds to knock over buildings and stuff might not be the best foundation for a great in-depth story. And I think that plays out with this movie. I will say this. If you're wondering, what do my kids watch on loop? Way too much. This movie right here. Liam in particular is obsessed with the Angry Birds movies, and he puts on, like going to bed, they put on Harry Potter, or they put on this one when they get to put on a movie to go to bed. And so this is a film they've watched a zillion times. I haven't. They're watching that one without me because I am not obsessed with the Angry Birds movie, but it's fine. But of the best of video game movies, I would certainly put it at the bottom. Moving right along, we have Mortal Kombat 1995, the first Mortal Kombat movie. They give it a 47% critic score, 58% audience score, and I will say this, both of the audience and the critics are way underrating this movie. This movie should belong way higher up on this list. I understand why the critics did it, because a lot of those critics are from 30 years ago. They didn't get it. But why is the audience also scoring this movie so unbelievably low? I think that is shocking how low this movie is with both of those scores. And it's unfortunately, when it came out, they had to do the PG-13 rating, so it's not as violent as you want it to be. Of course, you don't have these gory fatalities that you feel like you really should have with Mortal Kombat. But beyond that, they actually kind of get it right. in particular, like, you put this movie in the context of the other video game adaptations at that time. Street Fighter, Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon. This is so far ahead of those movies in being a coherent film, as well as like sticking to the source material, getting the characters right, getting the mythology right. And so for me, this one it's just like an enjoyable Mortal Kombat movie that the biggest knock against it is that it's not rated R. But I get it. I understand why it couldn't be. As someone that when this movie came out was the target audience of this movie, and I was, 14 years old, 13 years old, depending on which month it came out. They wanted me to go see it. I did go see it, and to make that happen, it had to be PG-13. So I totally get it. Some comments chiming in on the comment section. This is one of the best Paul W.S. Anderson films. Correct. It's his first movie, and it's possibly his best movie. And I just can't believe that the audience themselves betrayed it to put it this low on the list. Let me check real quick where we're at. Yes, right here on the list is where Minecraft will cut in. So Minecraft has a 47% from the critics, 83% from audiences. Now, this is obviously, it just came out, so more critics, more audience, all are gonna, these will adjust a little bit. But generally speaking, this one is very close to the bottom of this list. I would say that this is slightly underrated. On this list, I would have this one up just a little bit higher. Not a lot higher, slightly underrated by the critics. From audiences, I would say that they're probably slightly overrating this movie. At the time that this is being streamed, my supporters over on Patreon, my review of this movie just dropped. This movie was a pleasant surprise. I was expecting something terrible, and I got something that is better than terrible. Something that's pretty funny. I don't think it works really on a story level. Like, you know, it has all the beats of a big fantasy story, but the movie's not really interested in getting you invested in the plot or the characters, and so it just kind of like checks the boxes of proper character arcs and the right questioning to go on, a big third act with the battle and the cavalry showing up at one point. Like, it checks all the boxes for everything, but it's more of just, like, I watch it as it's a movie from the director of Napoleon Dynamite. And if you watch it in that light, it makes a good bit more sense what you're watching and why it is the way that it is. So much better than the trailers let on. Much funnier than I was expecting it. All right, back over to our list. Coming in at number 11 for them, they have Rampage. This is the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson big creature movie that most people barely remember is a video game adaptation. It is. It technically is a video game adaptation. And like I said, all of the movies on this list I find enjoyable enough, and that's the case with this one. At number 11, I would say basically this movie is properly rated. On mine, it's only one off from this, so it's basically properly rated that it's a fine but totally forgettable disaster movie, creature movie. And as you're watching it, it will keep you entertained enough by having big, gigantic creatures tearing apart buildings as they keep getting bigger. And then you have movie stars filling in the gaps, smirking and quipping at the camera. It's fine. It passes the time, but it doesn't really have anything to offer beyond that or anything particularly memorable about it. Everything that you might like about this movie, there's a different movie that does a better job at it. So, it, like, I enjoy it enough, but that's as far as it goes. Moving right along, we have Tomb Raider 2018. They have it at number 10. I will call this one just slightly underrated. I would have this one kick it up a couple spots on my list. As someone that likes adventure films, I enjoyed this movie as kind of a grittier little adventure film. The reboot of Tomb Raider that came out, I guess now over a little bit more than 10 years ago in the video games, inspired by Uncharted. And you feel that in the adventure of this, that they were pulling from those kind of more grounded versions of the video games. And so just kind of a little bit more visceral in some of the action. Another one that doesn't necessarily make a big enough mark, that you wish that it had a little bit more flavor and zest to it. It's a little bit too much by the numbers. So it's not like a great adventure movie, but it's a good adventure movie. It's a good enough adventure movie, and it's faithful enough adaptation of Tomb Raider without fully wowing you as much as you feel like it should in light of how iconic Lara Croft is in the world of video games. Then we have at number 9, Mortal Kombat 2021. This is the one that is getting a sequel later this year, which surprised how long it took to get this sequel. They have it at number 9 on their list. I will say they are slightly overrating this one. I have it just a little bit lower on my list. I really enjoyed that it is rated R. And so there's elements in this movie that are exactly what you want. And in particular, because of those elements that are like, that's it right there, it makes it so it's much easier to be excited for the sequel than I would be necessarily entirely just on my enjoyment level of the first one, which is like, it's okay, it's decent enough. But the things they got right, they got very right. And the things they got wrong, I feel are very solvable. That's what was so frustrating at times about this movie, is that it felt like mistakes they did not need to make. And the two gigantic ones in my mind, first off, our lead character is not a character from the video games. It's like, you've got a video game franchise that has an enormous roster where about 20 of these characters are very iconic, memorable, and known to the general public. And you start getting like 10 of them, multi-generational. People know Scorpion, Raiden, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade. Like, there's a bunch of these people that you can list off. Everybody knows them. And instead of picking any one of these characters as our lead, they went with a totally new guy. Such a misstep, such a bad choice. And they left out someone like a Johnny Cage that does have such a big personality, which they're fixing for the second one. The other big problem, it's not about the tournament. And so the whole movie feels like a prologue to what you actually want. And when you're doing that with a character we're not super invested in, you miss a lot. So this one, there's things in here that gave me promise for what's going to come in the future. There's promise for the movie that I really want. And I talked to a guy that saw it at a test screening, not a press screening because those haven't happened yet. Saw it at a test screening, and he sent me about it. He goes, I think this is the movie that people want, that they really listened and they're fixing it. And it is what we hoped the other one was going to be. So I'm very hopeful about the next one because of the things that were good in this one. So I'm excited for it. But as for this one, it's just like almost there, but also really not there at the same time. Number 8 on the list. And here's what's so fascinating. Number 8, and it's a 59%. It's not even fresh. There's 54 of these on this list, and the top, 46 of them are all rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, including Super Mario Brothers. This is the one movie that people always tout as critics got it wrong, and critics hated this movie, critics are out of touch. First off, 59% means a slight majority of critics liked and recommended the movie. A slight majority of critics agree with you. So when you say critics hated this movie, the majority of them liked it. They didn't hate it. So that's just wrong. It's a bad argument, but it's not fresh. The aggregated score is not fresh on this movie, whereas audiences loved this one. I will say once again on this one is at number 8 is underrated. Not super underrated. I'm not going all the way up with this one, but on my list, it absolutely is higher up on our list. So we're going to call this one underrated. And the reason the movie's so underrated, as per this list, is because it just feels like they got the world and characters right. And Mario's not the easiest character to do that with because it is so trippy and weird, and you're you're jumping into boxes with your head and there's mushrooms and weird creatures. Like, what do you do with that? And they went like, let's just do it. Let's play it out. But I think also that reason why it's not super duper underrated, because it does go very thin on the plot. Largely probably because Super Mario Brothers doesn't really have a plot that lends itself for a big, gigantic plot. And what they went, all right, let's not try and overthink the plot here. Let's get the characters, the world, the aesthetic, the vibe, the sound effects, the music. Let's get all of that right, and I think we'll win people over. And you just look at the numbers, that's exactly what it did. It made an insane amount of money. That 95% says everything about it. But it made you feel like you were in the world of Mario. That's what its ultimate job was, and it pulled it off so well. So for me, it is underrated at number 8. Moving right along, we have Sonic the Hedgehog. Another one of these ones, 64% from the critics, 93% from audiences. And for me, at number 7, properly rated. On my list, Sonic the Hedgehog comes in at number 7, totally properly rated. And if you were to average out the audience score, which seems kind of high, critic score seems a little bit low, you also once again land right about where I think is probably right for this movie. This is another one where they got the most important thing right, which was Sonic. And this is an example where they were able to do a pretty dramatic genre and world shift. Super Mario Brothers was like, let's just go into that world and let's spin the movie in that world. Sonic takes the opposite approach. They can really screw things up, and he went, let's take Sonic out of loop-de-loop world and put him on Earth. Do a road trip movie. That could go so wrong, but they got Sonic right. And so it ended up working. It spends a little bit too much time on the human characters, so that's why for me it's a little bit lower on the list. And I like the other Sonic movies more because each one of them seemed to get the balance of human versus Sonic characters better. But, it gets all of that right. Oh, and excuse me, Jim Carrey in the movie is an absolute blast. He is so much fun in the film. So him as Eggman is not what I ever would have imagined. And somehow what they came up with is better what I would have come up with. Starting to burp and talk in strange cadence and weirdly. Number 6 on their list, they have Gran Turismo. And audience score on this one, audience score is 98%. That is shockingly high. Critics score 65%. I'll say multiple different things on this one. Properly rated. On my list, this is also number 6. So we're in agreement there. At this point in time, these are all movies that I really, really enjoy. That are like, man, that was really cool what you did there. 65%, that 65% though, I will say, too low. This movie should be higher up. 98% from audiences, too high there, guys. We're going a little bit too far there if we're going to 98%. But for me, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It's just a really good sports movie with an interesting spin on it. Like it has all the beats and tropes you want from a sports movie, but having this twist of the guy got there because he was coming from the world of video games is so interesting and different. And it's based off of real life events. So you're like, wow, really? This is what happened? This is interesting. But thrilling sports stuff, or thrilling races, interesting character work as it kind of ties into the guy's struggle with everything going on, underdog story, all the pieces there. So really, really like this one. Kind of odd coming from Neil Blomkamp because it's so different from everything else he's ever done, but very enjoyable. Detective Pikachu at number 5 on their list. 68% from the critics, 79% from audiences. I will say this, on all accounts, we are slightly underrated. That it's a little bit higher up on my list. The critics score, I think, should be a good bit higher, and I'm surprised that the audience score isn't higher as well. So on all accounts, I think we should be bumping this one up a little bit, but I'm not a Pokemon person at all. Once again, this is another one that my kids are super into Pokemon, not specifically Detective Pikachu, but they're in the world of Pokemon quite a bit. But I'm not at all. I have no firsthand experience with Pokemon besides watching Detective Pikachu. So I'm just watching it as a movie. And it does a really nice job of taking you into this world of these pocket monsters. And you get the Ryan Reynolds humor in the PG-13 form. You get a mystery in there, a whodunit of what went on, as well as some heart. And so this, for me, kind of pretty surprised me that how good it turned out to be. We got someone chiming in. I'm surprised we don't already have another Pokemon movie. Well, I'll show you why we don't already have a Pokemon movie. Because to find the other Pokemon movies, we're going to scroll way down to the bottom where we start getting Pokemon 3 with 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, Pokemon the movie 2020%, Pokemon Heroes 19%. They are all way down at the bottom. So if you're wondering, you're surprised, don't be too surprised. The critics have not been kind to Mr. Pikachu in the past. But speaking of people they have been fairly kind to, number 4 on their list is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Number 4 on their list, 69% from the critics, 96% from audiences, where it's like audience and critics almost agreed, but then they flipped the numbers a little bit on there. And as for me, looking at those numbers, I have it, once again, just ever so slightly underrated based on the score. That critics score there, that's another one. I think we need to bump that up. 96% from audiences. That feels a little bit inflated. Let's bump that one down just a little bit. But yeah, I think at number 4, slightly underrated. I'm kicking it up just a little bit higher. And simple reason, it felt like with this movie, they listened for the most part. They still have a weird marriage subplot about humans in this one. But outside of that, it leans all that much more into Sonic taking the lead in the movie. Not just a road trip buddy movie, but he's out there with Tails, tons of Eggman stuff. And then you move into the third act, and it just leans so hard into Sonic lore. And you get Super Sonic, you get the big robots, we're going all up to the crystals and everything like that. It's all in there. So yeah, I am all about the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Big fan of them. Here's where it gets starting to get wild. The third highest rated video game adaptation of all time, Angry Birds the movie 2. My son Liam, he's like jumping up and down, clapping, yeah, they got it right, they got it right, they got it right. No. This, based on this score, way overrated. Now, the Rotten Tomatoes score of a 72%, that's fine. I'm okay with that, because it's good enough, it's enjoyable enough. But third best of all time, no, what are you talking about? This is like a very superficial little movie that's enjoyable enough. My kids love them. Liam loves it. But I think Angry Birds 2 is better than the first one. So it's higher up than the first one by a few spots because it has a tighter plot to it. It kind of goes into the spy espionage thing, kind of clearer mission that we're on. We're teaming up to take out those people over there. So it's a little bit more focused on a specific thing. You go, okay, cool. But, beyond that, it has the same kind of flaws as the first movie in regards to superficial comedy, leaning into music to replace actual punchlines to jokes, things like that. So, the third best of all time, like saying that out loud, going through this list, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you really? I can't think there's a lot of, outside of my son, I can't think of a lot of people out there that are having Angry Birds, either one of them, this high up on the list. But I think some of that also turns into, like, when the third best Rotten Tomatoes score for a video game movie ever is 72%, everything is almost all of these are in a fairly narrow band of a range for scores. Next one on here is the one that I haven't seen, that I didn't even realize was a video game movie. Werewolves Within. I haven't seen it. I remember when it came out, they emailed me about covering it, but I just hadn't heard anything about it. Just now looked it up. I guess it's like a VR game that came out almost a decade ago. I didn't realize that. I hadn't heard about that. So I can't say too much about it other than to say 86%. Cool. Congratulations. I've heard people talk about it, but I've only heard good things about it, but it's just like one of those movies, like at the box office, it only made $1 million. $1 million. So just not a lot of people have seen it. Doesn't strike me as, this big gigantic splash in the world of video games. So there it is. But coming in at number 1 on their list, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with an 85% from the critics, 95% from audiences. Properly rated. I thought this movie was an absolute blast. Had so much fun with it, and once again continued to correct the mistakes of the previous 2 Sonic movies, where this time all of the human characters besides Jim Carrey are sidelined. They're supporting characters, entirely supporting characters, and we are focused in on Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow. That's the plot of our movie. It's all about Sonic in our Sonic movie. It has heart. It has a little bit of heroic sacrifice. It's got what I want out of a Sonic movie. Now, granted, coming at being the best video game adaptation of all time is not a terribly high bar, because it's not like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for me was like my number 1 movie last year or anything like that. But in a category where there hasn't been like we're teeing off, we're knocking it out of the park, for me, that's going to be my pick for number 1. Now, just a second, I'll just read you through my whole ranking of these. But notice in here, none of the Resident Evil movies, there's like 1,000 Resident Evil movies, and none of them cracked into this list. They're all like, you start getting like number 20 and beyond. Warcraft didn't crack the list. Uncharted didn't crack the list. Angelina Jolie, Tomb Raider movies didn't crack the list. There's like all these movies that you think of them, big video game adaptations, Rotten Tomatoes scores are like so unbelievably low. And you like get into this deal and you get to like Resident Evil, the first one, number 19, 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. And you just Five Nights at Freddy's, 32%, Silent Hill, 32%, and Warcraft, number 24. Like we're in the top half of the list. Top half of the list, 29%. So that's how brutal the world of video game adaptations has been in their response from the movie critics. Here's my list. Rank it, like running through of these top ones on here, what I would do with it. Number 13, Angry Birds movie. Enjoyable but generic. 12, Rampage, once again, enjoyable creature feature but very generic. Number 11, Mortal Kombat, the one from just a few years back that's getting a sequel. Elements in it are very cool, but overall a disappointment because they chose the wrong lead character and it's not about the tournament. Number 10, Angry Birds 2, significant improvement over the first one with a more focused story, but once again, superficial entertainment. Number 9, Minecraft movie. Way better than I was expecting it to be. Very funny at times. It did make me laugh. That's ultimately what it was aiming for. It pulled off. It did its job to make me laugh. Number 8, Tomb Raider. Solid adaptation of the grittier reboot of Tomb Raider. Wish it had a little bit more spark and flair to it, but enjoyable enough movie. Number 7, the original Sonic the Hedgehog. They got Sonic right, and that makes all the difference. Eggman's cool in there. Too much human characters. Number 6, at this point in time, these are movies I really enjoy. Gran Turismo, great sports movie. Number 5, Super Mario Brothers. While the story might be very thin, they got the world, the characters, the sound, all of that stuff right. So maybe with the second one, we'll get a little bit more in-depth on the story. Number 4, Mortal Kombat 1995. They got the story, the characters, the tournament right. So I can forgive the fact that we don't get, blood and gore. Third, Detective Pikachu of Pokemon. just a movie that's a fun whodunit in a world full of fun creatures. And then number 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, took everything I enjoyed about the first one and minimized the stuff I didn't like, maximized the stuff I did like. And Sonic the Hedgehog 3 coming in at number 1. Once again, minimize the stuff I didn't like, maximize the stuff I did like with more emotion and more Sonic-y stuff. So for me, it comes in at number 1. That is my ranking of the top rated video game adaptations of all time.